I don't think I'd restrict myself to 3 people. There are people like Sam Nunn, a Democrat, or Dick Lugar, a Republican, who I'd listen to on foreign policy. On domestic policy, I've got friends ranging from Ted Kennedy to Tom Coburn, who don't necessarily agree on a lot of things, but who both, I think, have a sincere desire to see this country improve.
Yeah.
What I found is very helpful to me is to have a table where a lot of different points of view are represented, and where I can sit and poke and prod and ask them questions.
Yeah.
So that I'm not, so that any blind spots I have or predispositions that I have, that my assumptions are challenged. And I think that's.
All right, let's talk about personal life. The Bible says that integrity and love are the basis of leadership. This is a tough question. What would be, looking over your life, everybody's got weaknesses, nobody's perfect, would be the greatest moral failure in your life, and what would be the greatest moral failure of America?
Well, in my own life, I'd break it up in stages. When I had a difficult youth. My father wasn't in the house. I've written about this. There were times where I experimented with drugs. I drank in my teenage years. And what I trace this to is a certain selfishness on my part. I was so obsessed with me and the reasons that I might be dissatisfied that I couldn't focus on other people. And I think the process for me of growing up was to recognize that it's not about me. It's about.
I like that. I like that.
It's about absolutely. But look, when I find myself taking the wrong step. I think a lot of it times it's because I'm trying to protect myself instead of trying to do God's will.
Yeah, fundamental selfishness.
And so that I think is my own failure. Now,
what about America?
Now, I think America's greatest moral failure in my lifetime has been that we still don't abide by that basic precept in Matthew that whatever you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me.
Yeah.
And that notion of that basic principle applies to poverty. It applies to racism and sexism. It applies to not thinking about providing ladders of opportunity for people to get into the middle class. There's a pervasive sense, I think, that this country, as wealthy and powerful as we are, still don't spend enough.
We've had a lot of leaders, because of their weaknesses, character flaws, stumbled, become ineffective, or not even serving anymore, serving our country. What's been your greatest moral failure, and what do you think is the greatest moral failure of America?
They don't get any easier.
No, they don't get any easier.
My greatest moral failing, and I have been a very imperfect person, is the failure of my first marriage. It's my greatest moral failure. I think America's greatest moral failure has been, throughout our existence, perhaps we have not devoted ourselves to causes greater than our self-interest, although we've been the best at it of anybody in the world. I think after 9/11, my friends, instead of telling people to go shopping or take a trip, we should have told Americans to join the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, the military, expand our volunteer, expand what you're doing. Expand the great missions that you are doing, that you're carrying out not only here in America, but throughout the world, especially in Rwanda. And I hope we have a chance to talk a little bit about that later on. And you know, I'm a little pandering here. The first words of your very successful book is, "This is not about you."
Yeah.
And you know what that really also means? Serve a cause greater than your self-interest. We must preserve the privacy of all of our citizens as much as possible, because that's one of the fundamental and basic rights we have. And by the way, including a secret ballot for union organizers, a secret ballot, not a ballot that someone comes around and signs you up. That's a different subject. But the point is that we have now had technological advances over the last 20 or 30 years in communications that are remarkable. It's remarkable the ability that our enemies have to communicate. So we have to keep up with that capability. I mean, there's too many ways, through cyberspace and through other ways, that people are able to communicate with one another. So we are going to have to step up our capabilities to monitor those. Sometimes there are calls from outside the United States, inside the United States. There's all kinds of communications of every different kind. So you need Congress to work together. You need a judiciary that will review these laws that we pass. And at the same time, it's just an example of our failure to sit down, Republican and Democrat, and work these things out together for the good of the nation's security, instead of this constant fighting, which, according to our Director of National Intelligence, until we finally reached an agreement not long ago, was compromising our ability to keep America from attack. And so there's a constant tension. It is changing with changes in...
Let's deal with abortion. I, as a pastor, have to deal with this all the time, yes. Every different angle, every different pain, all the decisions and all of that. 40 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. Some people who believe that life begins at conception would say that's a Holocaust for many people. What point is a baby entitled to human rights?
At the moment of conception. I have a 25-year pro-life record in the Congress, in the Senate, and as President of the United States, I will be a pro-life president, and this presidency will have pro-life policies. That's my commitment. That's my commitment to you.